Good stuff, right? Yeah. All right. Well, it's been a blessing so far. The front of the service here, awesome singing, awesome worship and praise. Well, I just want to mention one other thing I failed to mention earlier, and I meant to before we got going, is that tonight there is a special meeting that actually First Baptist Church in Princeton. They're having a revival meeting. It started this morning. It's going to happen this evening as well at 6 o'clock. And Betty and I are going to go, and we're inviting anybody that'd like to go. We're going to go up there at 6 o'clock and if you'd like to join us, that'd be awesome. We could go up there at the same time or whatever, but just let us know if you intend on doing that. You want to do that, let us know. And then we'll come back right after that service is over. They're doing that this morning. They're doing it this evening. And then they're also having a service tomorrow evening as well. So that's what's happening. But tonight we're going to be going at 6 o'clock. If you'd like, we'll be leaving before 6. It starts at 6. So if you'd like to go, please let Betty or myself know. That would be awesome. All right. Well, we have been in our series, as I stated earlier. That's my story. What's yours? And we have our website that we put together. We've had over 1,200 views on our website. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm excited about that. And yet there is so much more and so many more places. You know, there is nothing more freeing. I've given away invitations for people to, go to church or whatever. And that's cool, but you're limited to where you can give those out at. Like if I'm taking a trip, we went to Bowling Green, Kentucky yesterday for a family reunion and all that. And on our way there, I was able to give out these cards, and I could be excited about it because people could go visit where I was asking them to visit right where they live. I could go anywhere in the world and give them an invitation to go make a visit, and they could do it the very same day. That's awesome. There's not too many opportunities you get like that, right? About things you can be excited about. Well, I'm excited about the stories that are on our website and their people's lives in this church. But also on the website, there's an opportunity. Let's say you haven't turned in your story, but you'd like to share your story. On the website, there is a link on there at the top of the page as well as at the bottom of the page that says, tell us your story. And if you hit that, you have an opportunity to fill out a little form there, and then it says, tell us your story, and you can type it out, and it'll send it to us, and then we can take that, and we can put your story on as well. So that's exciting. I'm just praying that we'll start getting stories to roll in that are outside of this church, of people's lives that have been touched and changed, and that we can keep this thing living and watch how that God uses it to touch people's lives. We had one young person that was 17 years old that had read the site. They left a comment on the site. They said, I appreciate you sharing your story. I have been raped as well, and said, I'm 17 years old, but I thank God that I have met him at such an early age. Now that's powerful when we're making connections like that. This is not somebody from our church. I don't know who the person was. It's just somebody who had come across the site. They had read some stories, and man, it hit a chord with them. I had another person left a good comment on there as well. We've had a couple comments already. I love it when people leave comments. So I want to encourage you to be a part. Be interactive with this thing. Don't just sit back and be complacent and think, well, everybody will get the word out. No, everybody won't. It's up to you to get the word out. And so we want to encourage you to be a part and make that happen. Well, we have some stories that we're going to let be shared with you this morning. And so I'm going to have John Taylor, if he would, to come. And he's going to start us out and going to share a little bit of his story and what God has done in his life. And he's been around here for a little while. And so, John, I want to make sure that this is on everything, okay? I believe it is. Yes, it is. All right. Go right ahead, buddy.
Well, many of you know me from, I run the video ministry here at the church. But I was raised in this church all my life. And my parents were very involved here at the church, and because of that, growing up in church all my life, I kind of lived under that banner of God's blessings. So I never fully understood what it meant to have a relationship with Christ until I hit the age of about 17, and me and Pastor John were talking, and I gave my life to God at Pastor John's house. Well, since I never really developed a relationship with God, about the age of 19 or 20, I completely turned my back on church, went off and did my own thing, got involved in drinking, smoking, pretty much everything you can think of. And it was through partially my relationship with my uncle, who I was very close to and was a great man of God. He died suddenly one day, and I had often thought that God was just completely done with me. I've sinned so much that there's no way God will take me back. But I had even at one point planned out a suicide and really seriously considered that. But about a year after that, I was struck by a van while crossing the street down at Columbia and First Avenue. I rolled up on the hood of the van, my shoulder cracked the window, and I rolled about 6 feet off in front of the van and only had minor bruises on my back and a very minor cut. And that's when God kind of slapped me upside the head and said, "I'm not done with you." And the next Sunday, I was back here at Mill Road, and I've been serving in the video ministry and wherever they need me ever since.
Well, thank you, John. And Shannon, I'm going to have you to prepare, if you would. Oh, here you are already. Okay, good deal. And what a great privilege to get to hear how God is using this church to make an impact on people's lives. And John, literally, John grew up in this church, went through my youth ministry as a teen, and to watch him go off like that was very hard as a pastor, to see someone just kind of turn their back and do their own thing. And I thank God that he came to realize his need for Jesus. And you know what? My prayer for everybody is that it doesn't take a van to get your attention, right? I'd rather tap on the shoulder. That should work fine for me. I don't need a 2x4 or a van. All right, Shannon, I'm going to let you share your story. Thank you.
I'm really nervous. It's different when you're singing, but talking's another story. I didn't grow up in church, but I always knew, everybody knows right from wrong. I don't care who you are. Everybody has a conscience. Everybody knows when they're doing something wrong, it's wrong. But I kind of went to church a little bit as a kid, but not regularly, didn't grow up in church. I went with my grandma one time, and she wanted me to sing in front of the church, and I was like, she kind of made me do it. I just get up there, and I just kind of looked at everybody and didn't do anything. I was kind of scared, but at that time, I didn't know what it meant to be saved or a follower of Christ. Went through life, probably did stuff I ought not to do. My mom would be surprised. But I wasn't the good little girl she thought I was. But we ended up getting married at 19 and had my son at 19. And he grew up in church, and it was a pretty strict church. It was a lot of rules. It was thou shalt not Christianity. You can't do this, can't do that. What can you do? But we were living in North Carolina for a while, and his cousin had come to stay with us, and she was really involved in that church, and she got homesick from college, and she said I had to go get her. She just didn't want to stay there, and I would find her reading her Bible and stuff, and I just thought that was weird. And she left a Bible tract around, and I read it, and I looked at it, and I was like, oh no, who wants to go to hell? Really. So I prayed this prayer, thinking, I'm fine with this. This is okay. And I prayed the prayer, thought I was fine, but didn't live a life I should have, and I didn't even tell Seth about it. I think if you get saved, your life has changed. You want to tell everybody about it. And I went through life thinking that prayer saved me. But it takes more than just a prayer. I mean, the words aren't, it should come from your heart. I did it just because I was afraid to go to hell. I didn't want to go to hell. And we went through the motions of going to different churches and stuff, and we found ourselves back to the church Seth grew up in, and it was a lot of rules, strict upbringing. I was accused of being in a cult. Mom didn't really want to ever visit that church, and she just thought they were weird. And I look back, she's right, they were. And so we find ourselves back here at Mill Road. I mean, if I rewind back, we'd been here before, but then we came back here going on 3 years, I think. And my daughter got saved. It was a few days before her birthday, and she got baptized. And I was like, "This is great," you know. And then I think Matt got saved, and then Seth got saved. And I was like, "What? This is something. This is crazy. This is crazy." And then my mom got saved, and she actually found a place that she loved being in church. I mean, she enjoyed it here. I mean, the people were nice. I mean, you could be yourself, and there's no judgment. And she got saved, and it was just everybody in our family. We had like a revival in our family. It was just amazing how God was working. But I kept thinking about that, you know, me being saved. Am I really saved? No, I doubted it for years, but I just kept relying on that prayer I prayed because I was okay. But we were at Pastor John's house one night, and we were talking about it. I couldn't shake it. I couldn't get away from it. So we were talking about that, and Betty had asked me, she said, "Have you ever fully put your trust in Jesus? I mean, He's your life. He's in control." And I'm like, "No, not really. I mean, it's just me just doing something. It's not what I do, but what God can do for me and do through me." And I did surrender my life to Jesus that night, and I got saved. So, awesome.
I'm going to have Bryce B. Wood to come, and Bryce is going to share his story with us. And Bryce, you've been around for about how long now?
About
3, 4 months, 6 months?
since April.
Since April, okay. You can do the math, since April. So Bryce, if you would, go right ahead, buddy.
I was this guy who grew up loving science. I absolutely loved science. I had a heart for it. I loved it so much that I actually became atheist. I didn't necessarily hate God. It's just the fact that I really didn't believe it because I didn't see it. And by about the 6th grade, it became so bad to me that I just found myself in a lonely place in life. I actually had no friends because I just literally involved myself in things such as like pornography. And I became a pornography addict when I was about 13 years old in 7th grade. And I actually looked at pornography for the first time, and I think it was in 4th grade. Now, pornography, I believe, is one of the most overlooked things in society right now, next to lust. I think guys tend to struggle with it a little bit more, mainly because they're more of a visually driven human being, and I've been struggling with it for about 7 years, ever since I was in 6th grade. And now, when I went to church for the first time at the United Church of Christ at St. Peter's, I didn't really enjoy myself there. I actually started drawing pictures of like how the universe came to be and all this stuff, these theories and stuff. I came up on my own. I still struggling with lust through 6th, 7th, and 8th grade and all the way through high school. But when I reached about my senior year, I decided I had actually been working a lot, and I actually hadn't gone to church since about the 8th grade. I went back to church up here at St. Peter's. I've started getting feelings of guilt. Now, I understand that feelings of guilt are from Satan, but these were actually feelings of guilt because I wasn't saved. And I know the Holy Spirit was convicting those things inside me, and he was pointing them out to me. And once I started going there for a little while, I decided, I'm not getting anything out of this. And I think it was Allie that called me one day, and she asked me if I'd come here to Mill Road. So I decided to come to Mill Road, And man, I'm trying to make this as short as possible. I decided to come to Mill Road. I came here for about 3 Wednesdays in a row, I think it was, and I finally decided, you know what, I think this is a place I need to be. So I decided to stay here, gave my life to Christ. I think this was the 3rd night, and God literally said, "This is pornography," and he said, "See ya." I mean, it was literally that. I mean, it was just like that. I mean, it was like that. And I mean, it was about the 3rd or 4th week after getting saved that I actually went to Joe and I told him about my pornography addiction. And ever since then, I mean, God has just lifted me up, and he just raised this humongous weight that almost crushed my entire life to death. And I really thank him for that. And the rest of my story's online, so go check it out.